All right, and we are live. Better late than never. Oh, hope everyone's doing well. Hi, Karen, how are you? Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I had a phone call I had to take. But hopefully everyone will log in soon and we'll get started. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Music Monday. What up, Mystic Warrior? Hi from the Revolution. Hello, Chris. Hello, Omar. Hello, Mike. Hello, Daniel. Hello, Joshua. Hello, Patsy. Hello, Redneck Economics. Sorry again about the delay. I had a phone call I had to attend to. It was a personal matter. What's up, Keen? Bernie's running. Did he officially announce? What's up, Frederick? Hope everyone is well. According to my calculations, there are 0 people watching on my end. Obviously, that's not... What's up, Darkstar? What's up, Alex? What's up, Balthazar? Prybite, good to hear that. Glad it's perfect timing for your work break. What's up, Matthew? Thank you for that. What's up, Mystic Warrior? What's up, John? And we are there. What's up? Welcome to Get Your News On With Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. If you're looking for Get Your New Son with Ron, that is on Fridays. Where I match people up with their new son. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. I had a personal matter I had to attend to. I apologize for that. But, yeah, got it handled as quick as I could. So, it's Music Monday. I hope everybody is well. I hope everybody had a killer weekend. I had a fun weekend. I went out and did my civic duty, and I voted for my ADEM. And a lot of the people that I voted for won. So, that was pretty good. The slate that I wanted to see win did very well. So, congratulations to them. Cool stuff. All right. Music Monday. Here's something. Let's go straight to it. Boom. Bono tells protesters capitalism is not immoral, it's amoral. U2 frontman Bono, who y'all know I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Bono. I think he's a grifter. He is buddy-buddy with George W. Bush. His nonprofit agency is kind of a scam. I've looked into it before. It's kind of like Susan G. Komen-esque. It seems like he's only doing it for his own tax benefits. And I personally can't stand his music. Now, I know some people, I've talked to many people who like their music, and that's fine. You're allowed to like their music. And then sometimes those people try to defend Bono politically, and I'm just like, look, you can't, you're not going to sway me politically. If you like the music, that's fine. You're allowed to like them. There's nothing wrong with liking their music. People love their music. I get it. It's me. I just don't enjoy it. A lot of people do. A lot of people don't. I don't. That's me. But you can enjoy their music. You don't have to defend them politically and try to do the mental gymnastics to make it out like Bono is anything more than a warmongering grifter, because he's not. So anyway, back to this article. The social activists, that's kind, urge global business leaders to join the fight against extreme poverty in Africa and AIDS on a panel debating how to end global poverty by 2030, a UN goal. Capitalism is not immoral. Yes, it is. It's amoral. It requires our instruction, Bono said, adding, capitalism has taken more people out of poverty than any other ism. But no, it's... Capitalism itself, how has that taken anyone out of poverty? Capitalism is designed to keep people poor. How can you credit capitalism with taking people out of poverty? No, it's different charities within capitalistic societies that have taken people out of poverty, sure. But just capitalism has taken people out of... Like, that statement doesn't even make sense. Capitalism is designed... That statement just makes zero sense. It does not add up. It gives capitalism credit for something that capitalism doesn't deserve credit for. It's just not So to say it's lifted people out of poverty, it hasn't. Different charitable acts that might have been done in capitalistic societies have lifted people out of poverty. Sure, that's not capitalism. It's not because of capitalism that has happened. It's actually in spite of capitalism that's happened. So that makes 0 sense, Bono. 0 sense. And there's a lot of things we attribute capitalism to that aren't necessarily solely because of capitalism. And there's some things we attribute to capitalism that aren't bad things. At least I don't think they're bad things. Markets are not bad things, just in and of themselves. The entrepreneurial spirit is not a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. That's something about America I celebrate. But that's not just exclusively linked to capitalism. You know, those two things... do they kind of share a little bit of attribution if you trace it far enough? Maybe. But that's not linked to capitalism. The entrepreneurial spirit is not exclusive to capitalism. We're sold the idea that it is. It isn't. So capitalism is just a system that benefits a few, and most people get kind of left out. That's just what it's designed to do. So yes, it is amoral. That's true. But to suggest that it has some, like, it's helped us more than any other ism or anything like that just doesn't add up. People do charitable things in spite of capitalism, not because of it. Capitalism, by nature, encourages the opposite. So what Bono's saying makes 0 sense. But my question for the day goes beyond Bono. And, you know, again... I have a lot of friends that are U2 fans. I respect them. I get why they like... people love U2. I'm not trying... And you might like U2 on the stream. That's fine. I'm not here to shame anybody for their musical tastes. But Bono, as an activist, I'm not a fan of. You look into his company, and it's very much a scam. I mean, I've looked into it. I've seen the numbers. And if he's not cognizant of that, if someone's screwing him over, well, he should pay more attention. He's signing the checks. But I think he is cognizant of it. I think he just likes the tax benefits he gets. And then he takes selfies with George W. Bush, a guy who made millions of dollars singing against war, loves to be buddy-buddy with the guy who likes to make war. I guess so he can write more songs about it. So, I don't respect Bono politically. I think it's hard to justify respecting that guy politically. And if you do, that's... I mean... I don't get it, but you can like someone's music. So my question for the day is, do you personally, and I'm asking you guys, do you ever draw the line where if you don't agree with someone politically, you won't go to see them? Or where do you draw that line? For me personally, it depends on the magnitude. And I'll give a few for instances, since this is my question, so I thought about it for a minute. If somebody just disagrees with me politically, like it's a musician whose music I like, and I know that they disagree with me politically. That just face value, not that big of a deal. And I'm still fine buying a ticket to go see them. It's a free country, or we're told. It's a kind of free country. I respect people's opinions. I respect people's views, even if I strongly disagree with them. You know, again, there's exceptions, of course. But generally speaking, if you just have a point of view that's not harming anybody else but disagrees with me, I respect that. And I want to hear from you. I'm not going to exclude anybody that doesn't share my point of view and my point of view only, because then I'm just kind of creating a vacuum, right? So, for instance, I can give Aerosmith. I enjoy Aerosmith's music. A lot of people don't. You might not. I enjoy their music. They're a classic rock band I enjoy. Joe Perry votes Republican. It's sad, I guess. I disagree with him, strongly disagree with him. But if I had a chance to see Aerosmith, would that be a factor where I wouldn't go? No, not really. Whether I buy that ticket or not, he's probably going to vote the way he's going to vote. And that's it. Nor do I feel that is so. Now, where it becomes a little different is, say I know, and I can't think of a particular, for instance, off the top of my head, say an artist, I know they go out of their way to support certain things that I have a big problem with. You know, like say that they go out of their way, to support conversion therapy. I'm just saying the first thing that comes to my head. Or they go out of their way to support, people that are demonizing pro-choice groups, or they go out of their way to support, really fringe conservative think tanks or something like that. Then it becomes a little different. If it's just one of those things like, hey, they disagree with me because they know that the Republicans protect their tax bracket more, so they vote that way, that's one thing. If it's they go out of their way to support a lot of causes that I'm really strongly opposed to, then it becomes a little tougher for me as an individual because I'm thinking, gee, I'm giving money to that. So to me, it depends on the magnitude, and that's kind of my answer. It depends on the magnitude. If it's just, I disagree, all right, that's not a make it or break it for me personally. But if it's like they support this, and this, and you're strongly opposed to that, then I might have a problem buying a ticket. Well, I mean, I would have. There's no might about it. I would have a problem buying a ticket, and I likely wouldn't. And I'm trying to think of, I mean, I guess Ted Nugent would be a good, for instance, where it's like that guy, I can't justify, but I don't like his music anyway, so I don't really know. I guess that's one advantage. A lot of the artists that I'm like strongly opposed to politically, in most cases, I don't like their music anyway. So it's not really like a lot of the pop country stars and stuff. Like I don't like that music anyway, so doesn't really matter. Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, don't like their music anyway. U2 don't like their music anyway. So it's not really that big of an issue for me. I can't think of any, for instance, where it's like there's a band or an artist. I'm trying to think now. I think, the Beach Boys. Mike Love is a Republican. But, I mean, it's the Beach Boys. And I don't know if all the band shares that view or if it's just him. Like, I have no idea. And, at this point, if you go see the Beach Boys, you're just seeing a Beach Boys cover band with Mike Love anyway. I mean, it's all new members. So I don't know if I would go out of my way for it one way or another. So I guess my answer to my question is it depends on the magnitude. Let me see what your guys' answers are. And I know this one guy. I remember this one guy in Nashville. And this was in Nashville, Tennessee, mind you. Lovely city. I miss it. And he told me, he doesn't like to do business with anybody that doesn't share his political views. He doesn't like to support any artist. He doesn't like to do business with anyone. He doesn't like... And I'm like, good luck with that. I mean, first of all, you live in Tennessee. That's not the bluest of the blue places in the world. And, I mean, what do? Do you walk into an establishment and go, excuse me, I need to take a poll. What are your political views? Because I might have to buy a cup of coffee elsewhere. So what are your views? What's your take on how'd you vote for the past 20 years? Do you really... I mean, I applaud your dedication, I guess. I think, you got a problem if you do that. I mean, how do you implement that? Excuse me, I got to take a poll. Do you agree with my political views? I don't. Anyway. So again, I guess it depends on magnitude. Let's see. Keen says, I guess I'd see Willie Nelson just because of his politics. I like Willie Nelson. I like that about him, too. Stranglehold, still would never pay to see him. Metallica, I don't know Metallica's politics. I'm assuming they're to the right. But I don't know for sure. I don't know Metallica's politics. Chris Wynn says, I actually may start listening to Cardi B after she showed her political insight. Yeah, I read about that. Let's see. The Vandals played in Iraq for the troops. People got mad at them for that. I don't know why people would get mad at them for that. I mean, when you go overseas to perform for the troops, that doesn't mean you support the war. In most cases, it's actually quite the opposite. So I don't know. I never got to perform for the troops before, but if I ever had an opportunity to, or if I ever was approached to do it, I certainly would. Because, those are apples and oranges. I don't know why anybody would get mad at them for performing for the troops. There's some troops over there that are probably fans of the Vandals. And, it's not their fault what's going on. Daniel says, hit those likes, people. Joshua Pegg, Elvis Costello Live was one of my most memorable shows ever. I heard he kills it live. Let's see. Statutory likes Nugent. Edwin says, I went to 9 U2 shows, the last one 2010, and they were not good. The last 2 albums suck, and now this right-wing capitalism crap. I don't like U2 anymore. Daniel, still love the Smiths no matter what crazy shit Morrissey says. I'm with you there, actually. It depends on the quality of music and the severity of the artist's position. But Daniel, we've talked about this before. If it's Morrissey you're worried about, who's really good is Johnny Marr politically, and I'd rather see Johnny Marr than Morrissey anyway. So there, solve that for you. Let's see. Some of you guys are saying all troops are volunteers. I strongly disagree with that statement, and I think you should think about what you're really saying when you say stuff like that. Go tell people in areas that are getting crushed economically that pretty much had nowhere else to go that they're a volunteer. Let's see. Video Game Vision Quest says, I just looked up Metallica. James Hetfield approved of the U.S. using Metallica music to help torture prisoners. That makes me sad. Me too. Again, although Metallica, something else I never got. I don't get Metallica. Daniel, he played guitar for Modest Mouse for a while, right? I'm assuming you mean Johnny Marr, and yes, I did know that. So yeah. And Johnny Marr's amazing. I agree. Let's see. All right, let's move on. So I think we're kind of all in the it sort of depends camp. Not depends the diapers. Depends it depends on the situation. Chris Wynn says, Army recruiters show up all the time at my community college I went to offering free college and a great career. Yep. I still like Crass, says Omar, and their songs bash both the left and the right. Yeah, Crash is kind of like, Crass is kind of, they're outside the system in pretty much every way. I saw that dude doing a solo acoustic set. It was really cool. I saw him do a solo acoustic set in Las Vegas. It was pretty fun. So yeah, I know I'm not a U2 guy, and sometimes people say I'm too hard on U2, but Bono really bothers me because, he makes it out like he's, and his causes sound very noble. Like I'm not against the causes he talks about. Well, I mean, capitalism and George W. Bush, I'm against that. But I mean, the causes he talks about is in poverty and stuff like that. I think all of those are noble causes, but his agency, his establishment, is kind of more Susan G. Komen-esque about it, meaning they're actually sort of just exploiting something for their own gains. So, anyway. And Vlada says, Bono, Clear Channel's best friend. Yeah. And how arrogant do you have to be to impose your album on people? You guys remember when that happened? Do you guys remember when U2 forced their album on us? When you got, like, the new phone or whatever, like, I think it was iPhone, they just put that album on your phone. They forced their album on you. And then it would autoplay. The album would autoplay on your phone. Like, I would plug my phone into the car, and then when I'd unplug it or plug it back in, all of a sudden this shitty U2 music's playing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And it's not easy. It took me a while to figure out how to get that damn thing off my phone. Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember when they did that? Tim says he's still trying to delete it. Tim is still trying to delete it. Stim. That's a combination of Sting and Tim. And by the way, speaking of Sting, there's a really funny George Carlin bit about Bono and Sting. I recommend you check out. I'm not going to try to do it justice. Just YouTube it. YouTube, George Carlin, Bono, Sting. It'll come up. Let's see. Susan G. Komen asks, you're not going Dennis Miller on us with those deep references, are you, Ron Placone? David, I gotta say, comparing me to Dennis Miller really hurt my feelings. You know what's funny, though? We're both from Pittsburgh, Dennis Miller and I. We're both from Pittsburgh. Quite on different sides of the fence. And if anyone didn't catch that, which I understand, Susan G. Komen, they are the leading breast cancer organization in the United States, which fighting breast cancer, very noble cause. However, they're not a very honest institution. About, I think, maybe 18%, and I think that's a high number, but only about 18% of their money goes towards actually helping breast cancer. The rest goes towards people's salary and towards administrative costs. And you break down the numbers, and pretty much everyone that's looked into it has concluded they are a predatory company, meaning they are exploiting cancer to profit their own, pad their own pockets, because they get exorbitant salaries, more than they should be getting. So U2's organization, similar. And yes, Jenna, Dennis Miller is from Pittsburgh. And keep in mind, he was a big lefty at one point. Then 9/11 happened, and he went nuts. So, yeah, Dennis Miller is from Pittsburgh, just like myself. So, yeah, I think that's the only thing Dennis Miller and I have in common. And Tim says, ask my wife who lost her mom to cancer about Susan G. Komen. There's not enough swear words in the dictionary. So, yeah. All right. I think we covered it. Let's move on, because we have a lot to talk about today. You guys have sent a lot of stuff in. So let's see where we want to go first. That was the Bono thing I wanted to mention. Okay. Oh, so this is a fun one. Joe sent this, and he wanted to do this as a fun one. Trump reportedly keeps showing White House guests where Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky had sex. All right, so President Donald Trump's tours of the White House occasionally include a stop to show off where Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky had sex, according to a new Washington Post report. Post found multiple instances of Trump giving tours to senators, TV anchors, and other guests, making various comments about the former president and his affair with Monica Lewinsky. The subject often leads to a lengthy, sometimes crass conversations. When asked about, this is the funny part, when asked about the fondness of giving tours to the White House, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the president is proud of the White House and its rich history. And he also likes to tell an anecdote about Barack Obama. He's saying that there's this place where Barack Obama used to watch sports in. He would watch basketball there, and there was a hole in the wall. Now, Obama denies this. There was no hole in the wall, and Obama really ever worked there, and he did not watch basketball there. It's like a child is given the White House and has been like, this is yours now, and then this is what they say about it. I mean, what else can you say? It's Donald Trump. He likes to provoke people. That's what he is. He's a provocateur. And so, yeah, he's going to point stuff like that out. I just, it's got to be memorable. This is where Bill Clinton... This is where the stain on the dress happened, I'm pretty sure. And believe me, my stain would have been bigger. My stain, but trust me, it's huge. My stain would have been way bigger. That's how I envision it. Way to go, Trump. All right. So, in more serious news, and there's two pieces that in either one we could end on for a discussion, so I'm not sure where I want to go. So I'm going to let you guys pick. 9 arrested as in, oh wait, I should go to the article, huh? 9 arrested as environmental protesters drape banner on Rockefeller Center's Prometheus. So David has been very helpful in keeping us on top of the Extinction Rebellion coming to the United States. And when did it hit? It hit this Saturday. Those are mass protests worldwide for climate change action. We got to do something. We got 12 years. We got to do something. Good news, we can still do something. Bad news, we're really fucking behind schedule. More bad news, I'm not a scientist. I just know what the science community says. You know what I do on a regular basis? I text my friends who are scientists, and I ask them how, like, I just go, are we going to be okay? I literally do that. I text and if I don't like the answer I'm given, I text another science person until I get an answer that I like. I am down to dude who sat next to me in chemistry. That's the person I'm down to as far as science background and giving me information that makes me sleep easier. Meaning, everybody says, we're in trouble, we gotta fucking do something. Everyone says that, but I'll let you know what I hear from the dude that sat next to me in chemistry class. I have no idea what that guy's up to now, but he was better at lab than me. Yeah, I don't know what he does now. It might not be, but I have texted all my friends in the science community or more science community oriented than I am. I've gotten responses ranging from start saving seeds, do not invest in coastal property, we're going to be okay, but the world's going to look completely different in 50 years. We have to do something. There will be a scarcity of resources. Ron, why are you asking me this? I'm an attorney. I've gotten all kinds of responses. And I still do it. I just go, hey, are we okay? Like some of my science friends are like, Ron, I'm really tired of you. But I gotta ask them. And it's not fair. Like, they're like, Ron, I don't text you being like, hey, what are some new jokes you're working on? Can you send me transcripts? Although I'd be flattered if they did that, and I would. And I'd be like, give me some feedback. What do you think? You know, when I started dating my now fiance, she used to love it when I would send her my sets after, like I would record them on my phone and I'd send them to her and she would listen to all of them. And she'd be like, this is just so neat. And I was like, you're going to get tired of this real quick. And she's like, no, I'll never get tired of this. She got tired of it. She got tired. Believe me. Like I was just like, yeah, you've never dated a comedian before. You're going to get tired of this. I promise you, babe. She's like, no, it's so neat. I was like, you're going to get tired of it. If you didn't, I'd be worried. Believe me, you're going to. Believe me. I was like, you're going to. Now she's tired of it. Now I'm like, hey, baby, I have a show. Do you want to come? And she's like, no, I'm busy doing anything else. That's the way it should be. I'm not complaining. She's in the right in this, for instance. It's just funny. Anyway. All right. This article. Boom. So here's what happened in New York. They draped a banner on Rocket Center's Prometheus. Climate change, rebel, mass murder, life. Yeah. It's a cool banner. Police arrested 9 environmental activists who staged a die-in at the Rockefeller Center ice rink on Saturday, including a 30-year-old protester who scaled the center's iconic gold Prometheus statue to hang a banner from it. Cops surrounded Greg Shedrock as he tied the climate change mass murder banner to the statue and fixed another item to its neck. He hurt the statue's feelings. As he put up the banner, several protesters laid down on the ice in a die-in. Shedrock was arrested after climbing down from the 84-year-old statue, said to be the most photographed monumental sculpture in New York City. We got to make noise. I mean, that's... You got to make noise. That's what we got to do. Because the real powers that be, they don't want to do anything about this. And you know, the real culprits, too, are the corporations. You look at the big corporations in America, Walmart, Amazon. I know for a fact, Amazon, because I looked it up recently, Amazon has an F environmental rating. Off the top of my head, I don't know if Walmart has an F2, but I'm assuming they do. I can guarantee you it's not good. These are the big culprits. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't do the best you can as an individual. You know, I recycle, compost, use metals. I do all those things. They do make a difference. You know, you should try your best. I try my best. Could I do better? Absolutely. I'm sure there's a lot of areas I could be doing better in. Sometimes I buy products I don't even know that they're bad for the environment. I find out later they are, and then I change my habits. I try to do the best I can. And we all should. You do the best you can. Obviously, you're going to have some amount of waste. It's pretty much impossible to have no waste whatsoever as a human. It's pretty much impossible. I mean, at the very least, you take a dump every day. But you should try your best. But you also got to realize we need significant policy changes because these big culprits are these mass corporations. They're the ones that are the big elephants in the room, that are the big behemoths when it comes to what's going on. Mass farming, factory farming. And it's all kinds of factors. Those are the main culprits. Those are the things that need to change the most. So yeah, you got to do what you can. You try to support local farms. Try to only buy sustainable grass-fed stuff. Do what you got to do. I mean, I try my best. I hope other people try their best. But at the end of the day, if these big corporations, if nothing is imposed on them to make them change the way they do business, then those are the main culprits. So you got to protest and you got to be loud. And I applaud the environmental activists that have started that wheel of turning. Okay, so guys, there's 2 more things left I want to talk about, and I apologize again for being a few minutes late today, but I still have to end on time, unfortunately. So I'm gonna leave it up to you guys real quick here. I'm gonna take a quick poll, and do we want to end on Trump? Well, I guess you know what? Screw it. Actually, I take this back. We're just gonna go through both of them, and then we're just gonna talk about both of them. We'll go through both of them quick, and then talk about both of them, and then the show ends. How's that? Man, problem solving in real time. That's what I'm doing. No one's convincing me otherwise. All right, since we're in protest mode, we'll stay there. And this is a friendly reminder of history, and it's a friendly reminder because, as you guys may have seen, Howard Schultz may be running for president. Howard Schultz, who started Starbucks, he's CEO of Starbucks. I don't know if he still is. He might have. I think he might have just sold it all off. But anyway, he's the Starbucks guy. That's who Howard Schultz is, and he might be running for president. Howard Schultz doesn't think we can have universal health care. Howard Schultz doesn't have confidence that the country can orchestrate health care the way his company can. Isn't that the guy you want to be president? I mean, man, what? He has so much confidence in the country, I'll tell you. Anyway, Howard Schultz might be running for president, which would be a train wreck on many levels. Here's a reminder of a little bit of history. The dark side of globalization, why Seattle's 1999 protesters were right. The WTO demonstrators for the Occupy movement of the late 20th century mocked, maligned, and mostly right. And I think they mean right as in they were correct, not right politically. In 1999, my friend moved to Seattle where he was hit with rubber bullets. This is the article. Tear gas in the face and nearly arrested by police. He had joined the famous protests of the WTO Ministerial Conference, widely known as the Seattle Protests. The Occupy Wall Street of their time, they focused on globalization rather than the excesses of finance. And quite like the Occupy Wall Street of their time, they were often mocked. The organizers were a hodgepodge of groups. Unions worried about competition from cheap foreign labor, environmentalists, consumer protection groups, labor rights groups. And in the decade that followed, the Seattle protests came to seem as not only silly but also misguided. After all, what were the excesses of globalization compared to the travesty of the Iraq War or the disaster of the financial crisis? Well, gee, I think globalization leads to more wars in many cases because, hey, you want that energy from other countries. I think the article knows this. I know this is a rhetorical thing, but, just throwing that in there. America seemed to decide that we had much more important things to protest about, and the Seattle protesters have largely been forgotten about in pop media culture. It's a shame. Why? Well, here's what the article says. The dark side of globalization. The clearest example is competition from foreign workers, which really has slammed the American working class. Chinese imports have also lowered prices for consumers and raised the income of capital owners, but these benefits are either spread very thinly over a large number of people or concentrated among the rich, meaning the regular consumer does not benefit. Next, take unsafe imports. Scary truth, we don't even really know how much of a problem that is. How about environmental destruction? The race to the bottom theory is that by allowing rich country companies to invest freely in countries that don't protect the environment, which, by the way, United States doesn't really protect the environment, globalization forces rich countries to lower their environmental standards as well. Bingo. That theory doesn't seem to have a lot of support in the data. Economists have generally found little effect of globalization on pollution in the U.S. itself, but globalization does seem to export pollution to developing countries. For many types of pollution, the burden falls on our trade partners. Chinese people are literally choking to death by coal smoke. And we got our issues here, too. I think the environment would be their playground whether or not they exported it, but the fact that they do probably only makes it worse. And they bring up carbon emissions, labor standards. Almost everything the Seattle protesters have warned us about has come to pass, much of it a direct result of the WTO's actions in 2000. So there you go. Interesting article talking about the issues of globalization, what the Seattle protests were all about. And, Howard Schultz was not a fan of those protests. Now, I don't condone violent action. That is something I am against. I'm against violent action. I favor nonviolent protests. However, you can still be nonviolent and interrupt. Nonviolent protest does not mean you're not interrupting anything, or you're not being civilly disobedient. So that's the type of action that I call for or favor. All right. So, another Trump story. Trump touts proposed Bible literacy classes in state schools. All right. President Trump on Monday embraced a proposal from lawmakers in 6 states that would allow public schools to offer Bible literacy classes shortly after the subject was discussed on Fox and Friends. So here's what Trump said about it. Numerous states introducing Bible literacy classes, giving students the option of studying the Bible, starting to make a turn back. Great. The tweet came roughly a half hour after North Dakota State Rep. Aaron McWilliams appeared on Fox and Friends. McWilliams is co-sponsoring a measure in North Dakota to support Bible literacy classes. Other states that have been doing this: Missouri, Indiana, West Virginia, Virginia, and Florida. USA Today reported that the proposals would require or encourage public schools to offer elective classes on the Bible with a focus on its historical significance. Okay, problem right here. The Bible is not a history book. Critics of the measures have argued that they could violate the constitutional separation between church and state. Those critics would be right. Trump has courted the support of evangelical leaders, with many defending him despite criticism over his rhetoric towards immigrants and on the campaign trail. Okay, that's the end of the article. So, here's a number of issues. First of all, I do think this violates the separation of church and state. The Bible is not a history book. Does it have some elements involved with history? Certainly. It was written during a certain period of time. Anybody reading that book, whether you believe it has, you believe it's more than a book or not, so to speak, if you do believe there was some divine intervention there, you still have to read it through the historical lens of when it was being written. That's just something that you should do. But it's still not a history book, per se. And the problem is, there are plenty of history books. There are plenty of real history books. And the fact that we live in a world where they're banning Howard Zinn, they're trying to ban, the state of Indiana not too long ago tried to ban Howard Zinn, the People's History of the United States, but we're trying to teach the Bible to high schoolers. That is backwards beyond comprehension. And there's so many things that they're not. I mean, arts programs get cut constantly all the time. They don't even really teach civics anymore. I mean, I didn't get civics when I was in high school. A lot of people don't. They don't teach. I never had a home ec class. I know there's still some instances where they do it, but they typically don't. At least in my experience, they didn't. So there's so many things that if we're going to offer more curriculum to students, which isn't a bad thing, but if we're going to do that, there's so many other things we should be doing. Just a basic like life class. I mean, the fact that like there's nowhere, they don't typically have, I mean, some high schools do. I'm not trying to overgeneralize here. I'm sure, like, you know, and I'm sure some of you in the comments, well, at this particular high school, I'm sure there's some high schools that do. But overall, like they talk about this all the time, how, you know, there's no class that teach high schoolers how to balance a checkbook, how to write a check, how to, you know, balance a budget, how to, I mean, you know, and I know that there's no substitute for life experience, but if you're going to have more electives for young developing minds, why not have something that has some practicality in their life or will help them make decisions? What about a media literacy class? Especially in the world we live in right now. A world where our news structure is virtually non-existent because it's just controlled by a handful of corporations. A media literacy class, that should be required in high schools, in my opinion. So I just named a wide handful of things that should be way more important than a Bible literacy class. I've read the Bible cover to cover because YOLO. I've read that book. There's a lot of just genealogy in that book. There's a lot of bullshit in that book. And if you really read in between the lines, there's a lot of just don't act up. There's a lot of just, you know, when you really read the Bible, which I have, and you really kind of look into it, a lot of it is like just don't act up. And when you think about a time where there were rich people and there were poor people, and there weren't bombs, and there were a lot more poor people than rich people, and the rich people had to wonder, what's going to stop all these poor people from uprising? The idea that having a book that tells them that if they, you know, if they repent, the kingdom is theirs. That a rich person can't get to the kingdom through an eye of the needle, but the poor, they'll inherit the earth. The meek will inherit the earth. That's not a bad method of control. And I personally don't see the Bible as anything more than that. You know, those are my beliefs. If your beliefs are otherwise, that's fine. You have every right in the world to believe what you want to believe, as long as you don't hurt others. But either way, I think that it is a gross violation of the separation of church and state to teach the Bible in public schools. And even if it wasn't, I think there are a million more important electives that high schoolers could have. Business, finance, life skills, driver's ed, home ec, civics, economics. More foreign language instruction. We're like one of the only countries in the world where there's not in the world, but in the industrialized world, where there's not near as many bilingual people. When I lived in a youth hostel, and I was like the only American there, I was the only person that wasn't bilingual, and it was embarrassing. Like, I was embarrassed by it. And it's just because that wasn't emphasized in childhood. It wasn't taught in schools. I'm conversational in Italian. I wouldn't say I'm fluent, but I'm conversational. And I wish I was better at it, but it's really, you have to really make the effort to seek it out. Especially since it's Italian, not a language a lot of people speak, but I have family over there, so it's my language of choice. I one day hope to be fluent in it. One day I hope that and it might not happen until I'm retired. Literally. And I'm okay with that. I do hope there's a day where I'm older and I'm no longer, I'm just kind of doing what I want to do. Although I kind of do that now. I do what I want to do now, so I guess in a way I can't complain. But you know, I have to do a lot of stuff, and I would like to eventually just go to the library and bunker down and travel to Italy as much as I can and get fluent in Italian. That is one of my goals before I die. Not to be morbid, but before I die someday, you know? So, anyway. There's a lot more important electives we could be having, even if this wasn't a gross violation of the separation of church and state, which it is anyway. Let's see what you guys are saying, and then that's how we're going to end today's show, right? Ciao. Giovanna, parlo italiano. Sì. Ti parli italiano anche? Parlo un po', è difficile, ma ho la famiglia in Italia, a Bologna, a Firenze. Language software is great, says Video Game Vision Quest. I have discs that I use. Like, what I used to do whenever I was, like when I was a full-time road comic, what I would do is I would have, like, conversation discs in my car, and I would listen to them when I was driving. Chris says, my sister conned dozens of people out of money to go to Prague to indoctrinate people about conservative Jesus. Oh, sorry to hear that. OG says Ron is not a Russian agent, but an Italian agent. Let me get to the... Oh, I missed a couple super chats. Let me get to that. Castillo, thank you for the super chat. All the body parts groups are mostly sponsored... All the body parts... Oh, I see what you're saying. All the body parts groups are mostly sponsored by Big Pharma and corrupt as hell. Fighting 95%, safer vaping. Right on. Thank you very much. Buster's Peak, thank you very much for the super chat contribution, and thank you for reminding me to not miss those. Do you think if Bernie becomes president and his wing of the party starts making real progress, the Pelosi wing will work with foreign nations to stage international coup? Neoliberalism will do anything to survive. Wow. I don't see something like that happening, but I guess you never know. I'd be surprised if something like that were to happen. I think they would just try to stifle Bernie in other ways, working the system against him. I mean, even if someone's president, they can still be stifled. So no, I don't see anything like that happening. But I do think... I mean, I don't know. You say your verbiage... Your thing says internal coup. Since you asked if they'll work with foreign nations, I'm assuming you meant international coup. Maybe you didn't. But internal coup, I mean, it depends on what you mean by that. If by that you mean they would try to use the system to their advantage against him in every term, then yes, absolutely. They're for sure going to do that. That goes without saying. But if you mean like an actual international coup with foreign nations, I don't see that happening now. But, you know, because there's just too many other ways they could try to stifle him. And Krillin brings up, how about paying money so your family goes to heaven? Exactly. That's ridiculous. We all know the only situation where that works is if you pay me money to get your family into heaven. I'm the only one. Everyone else is a scam. Now, the only exception to that, of course, me. Reverend Ron, give me cash. That's my other identity as Reverend Ron, the Give Me Cash Reverend Ron. And, of course, if you give me money, your family will go to heaven. A place that I don't know if it's out there or not. I have no idea. But David Byrne said that if it is out there, it's a place where nothing ever happens. So, boom, bringing it back to music. Talking Heads reference for the win. Guys, we are out of time. I'm sorry I was a couple minutes late. Thank you guys so much for being here. So this week's going to be a little weird because I have a wedding to go to. My buddy is getting married this week, and I'm in the wedding, which I'm real excited about. So chances are we're for sure not going to have an episode on Thursday because the wedding is on Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday, just keep an eye out on Twitter and Facebook for announcements. Unfortunately, I don't know when exactly I'll be needed. Again, I am in the wedding, so I got to put my buddy first here, so he may have to miss a few episodes. Clips will be coming out as usual no matter what. The podcast will come out on Friday no matter what. But the live streams, we may be on a hiatus for the rest of this week, but we should be back tomorrow and potentially Wednesday. So, yeah. But keep an eye on my Twitter. If anything changes, I will let you guys know first. But until you hear otherwise, we will be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. If you can support this show on the sustainability end, please do consider becoming a Patreon. You get content twice a week, you get all kinds of perks, and you help keep this show on the air. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. Tour dates, I got them. Coming to the Gulf in March. Get your tickets now. New Orleans, Pensacola, Lafayette, Oxford, Mississippi, and Texas in April. San Antonio, Austin, Houston, Fort Worth. All other tour dates, I'm going to be in the East Coast in June, going to be in Boise, Idaho, and Salt Lake City, Utah in May. RonPlacone.com for all those dates. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for being part of this. Sorry again I was late. You guys rule. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Unless otherwise noted, keep an eye out on the Twitter. But as of right now, tomorrow we will be on as usual. But this week will be a little weird. Thank you for your patience and understanding. I love you all very much. Thank you for keeping me sane in this crazy world. And peace.